Well, hello, and welcome to another Saturday Night Live Stream. And tonight, we're going to talk about, dearly beloved, we are gathered today to talk about this thing called ETIS. That's in honor of the late great Prince, if you didn't know where I got that from. I'm your host with the most, Tammy. Welcome to the Don't Know Where I'm Going Next travel channel. And we're going to get down and dirty with this topic of ETIS. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what is ETIS and why should I even give a about it? Well, I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. But first of all, we're going to go over what it is. Okay. That's what we're going to do. Now, before we go into what it is, it's actually going to be launched officially in Europe on all of the Schengen zones by mid-2025. Now, it does sound like it's a little bit far away. I mean, it's technically 9 months, give and take. I mean, whatever. But it's something you need to be aware about, especially if you're making plans 9 months out to travel to Europe. It's a big deal. And you may want to do it or you may not want to do it because there's a lot of specific type of things that they're going to be asking you in this application. That's what we're going to go over. Okay. All right. Before we get going, I want to pull up a particular TikTok video that is going to show you and explain to you what I'm talking about, okay? So that we can start getting into the meat and potatoes of it all. So let me bring this up. We're going to do our thing here and get this party started. All right, let's see if you can see it. Okay, girl, rock and roll it.
I got some bad news for you guys. The fun of collecting all of these passport stamps is about to be a thing of the past. The rules are about to change, and I was just at a travel conference where we got to hear from speakers that are from ETIAS or ETIAS, and they gave us an update on the entry requirements for traveling to Europe, and I'm going to give you the details. There are two things you need to know about, and that is EES and ETIAS. EES stands for Entry and Exit System, and basically the goal is to better track who is coming in and leaving certain countries in Europe. Their goal is for this to start in autumn of 2024. We'll see if that happens. But basically, you're going to be verified when you come into the country by your biometrics, and it's going to take the place of the actual stamps in your passport. Basically, they're going to be able to better automatically detect who is overstaying their welcome. Here's some additional.
Okay, before we go any further, what she's talking about is something that I talked about in the last live stream. If you missed that, go into my playlist for live streams and you can catch the last live stream. But this is something totally separate from Europe's entry exit system. Okay, so listen up to what she's got to say.
Additional information so you can pause to read it. And then ETIAS or ETIAS, the European Travel Information and Authorization System, which is not a visa. It's going to plan to start the first half of 2025. This is an authorization required to travel to 30 European countries. It's going to be a €7 fee, which is not bad at all, and it's going to be valid for 3 years or until your passport expires. These are the 30 countries that are going to require the visa exempt travelers to have the ETIAS travel authorization.
Okay, I just wanted to I wanted you to see that part. I don't know if you could see that, but those are the countries she's talking about that require it, that are in the Schengen. Okay. I won't interrupt anymore. Okay, let's go.
So if you're planning to travel to any one of these 30 countries, you will need the authorization. Those of us that will need to have this authorization are going to be from all of these countries, and obviously the United States is one of them. So
okay, so see, yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of the United States because that is my home country. But if you're from anywhere else on that list, beware, okay? Even if you are in Europe and you're in a non-Schengen zone country, this is something you've got to think about too. It's not just the Western countries.
make sure if you're traveling to one of those 30 European countries and you come from one of these countries, you will need to apply for an ETIAS travel authorization. All of this information is easily available on the web. You can just do a Google search of ETIAS, or you can go to travel-europe.europa.eu. This is really not.
Okay. So, I mean, there you go. So she pretty much explained it in a nutshell. And like she said, you can go on the web and you can look it up and read it a little bit more. Okay. So now that we got that out of the way, I'm going to explain to you what I found out, basically what ETIAS is. So by definition, it is not a European visa, but an approval to travel to and within Europe. Okay, an approval to travel to and within Europe, which is electronically linked to your passport. Without an ETIAS approved passport, it will be impossible for third country nationals, which are citizens of countries that are neither members of the European Union nor the Schengen area, okay, to enter the European arena. As such approval will become mandatory in the near future, okay? Mandatory. There's no skirting around this, people. You have to, excuse me, you have to apply for this and you have to be approved or you cannot travel in the Schengen zone as of mid-2025. All right. Next thing I wanted to bring up with you is when is it expected to launch? Now, I did mention it's going to be expected to launch mid-2025, but don't take my word for it. Let me show you exactly what it's saying. So let's see if we can pull that up. There you go. AI, the all-seeing, all-knowing, says the European Travel Information and Authorization System, which is ETIAS, is expected to launch in mid-2025 and will be a new travel authorization requirement for visa-exempt travelers entering the European Union. Yeehaw! So there you go on that note. So, you know, you got to tell me what you think about that. And really, you're going to get to share your thoughts. Don't worry. We're going to get into the end of this because I do have some of my own thoughts about it, but we haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes of this. But like I said, this is coming and this is something you're not going to be able to avoid. All right. The next thing that we need to know is what are the actual requirements to have your app approved, right? What's the requirements? What do I got to do? What actually is going on with this? What do I need to fill out? And what is it that they're going to be actually seeking? So let's see if we can get into that. I got a clip that I got for you. Give me just a second. We'll pull that up. Make sure you got it. Okay, here we go. ETIAS requirements, right? So it says here basically, and I got this, just so you know, from ETIAS.com. All right. There's specific criteria. It's an application process, and there is a fee involved. Okay, so basically nationality, we know that it's required for citizens of countries that currently enjoy visa-free travel to the Schengen area. This includes countries like the United States, Canada, Australia, Japan, and others. This is a full list of everybody who's going to have to apply for the ETIAS application. So take a look. We got Albania, Antigua, Bermuda, Argentina, Australia, Bahamas, and it goes on and on and on. If you're from any of these countries, you see your name on here, I'm going through it, you're going to have to apply for this. Pretty much everyone There's a lot on here, as you can see. Okay, ends in Venezuela. All right, so what's the purpose of this thing? It says here the ETIAS authorization is designed for individuals traveling for tourism, business, transit, or medical reasons. It is not applicable for those planning to study or work in Europe for an extended period. So what's the period? The ETIAS is valid for short stays of up to 90 days within the 180-day period in the Schengen area, which is pretty much what's going on now. Just like I am currently in Krakow, Poland. I've already stayed 30 days in Budapest. So I'm working on my 60 of my 90-day window, which means when I hit that 90 days, I have to get out and then I can come back in. But this now, when I come back after mid 2025, I literally have to apply and be approved. I can't just come in. They're not just going to, hey, come on in. The water's fine. No, they're going to be checking me out and you. So what are the passport requirements? It says here, you got to meet the following. Your passport needs to be valid, of course, at the time you are arriving in Europe. It needs to contain a machine-readable section on the biographic details page. And although this is not a universal requirement, your passport may need to be an electronic passport bearing the electronic passport sign or chip. So I'm like, okay, I'm confused. I have a regular passport that was issued in 2015 from the States. What is a machine readable section? And excuse me, and what exactly is an e-passport with a signed passport sign or chip? So I wanted to show you that as well, because I was curious and I was like, I don't know really exactly what they're talking about. So we need to get into that. Let me see if I can pull that up for you because I did a little digging. You know me, did a little digging on that. Did a little digging for you. Did a little digging, Scooby-Doo. Okay, here we go. Good old AI Google says, a machine-readable passport is a passport that contains information that can be read by a machine. Okay, that's simple, stupid, right? The info is typically encoded in a machine-readable zone at the bottom of the passport's identification page. All right, so I'm going to pull this up so you guys can see this. Because I was like, what? What are we talking about? So let me see if I can get into that and show you what it is. Okay, here we go. If you can see this, of course, this is a foreign passport, but any of your passports, if you guys can read, oh, you can't see it. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. Let me get into it because I bounced out and get to the other page. I apologize. I'm so sorry. You got to be able to see it, right? Can you see it now? Yeah, buddy. Okay. So like you go open your passport, you got all your ID. Well, it's that thing, excuse me. As you can see, they're pointing at the bottom. It's all that information on the bottom is a machine read. It's able to be read by a machine. So if you got that and you don't have the other thing they were talking about, you're going to be cool. And that's pretty much what mine is. But they also mentioned like what exactly is the chip thing? Well, if you have a regular passport, let's say, for instance, this is my passport, right? You have this as your passport. And if you look at the bottom of your passport, usually right in the middle, it'll show a gold camera. That is your chip, believe it or not. That is your biometric chip in your passport. Mine actually has both. It has the readable section and it's got the biometric chip at the bottom in the passport. So now you know what that is and what they're after and what they're looking for, right? Okay. I just wanted you to be aware of that. Let's see. there was anything else we wanted to go in there. So about machine readable passport. Okay, we don't want that. Boom, boom, boom. Ch, ch, ch. Boom, boom, boom. Ch, ch, ch. Okay. Now, what's the other things that they're actually going to be after? So that's some of the requirements. Okay, let's go back to the requirements. That's just the basics there. I wanted to show you the rest of this and what they're actually after. Okay, age limitations. It says the authorization is required for all ages except if you are under the age of 18 or over the age of 70, you may be exempt from the application fee. Family members of EU citizens or non-EU nationals with the right to move, you have the right to move freely. Okay, so if you're already in the Schengen or you're married to a family member in the Schengen, you ain't got to worry about it, right? Now it says you'll be exempt from the fee if you're under 18 or over 70, but you may still have to, you probably do have to apply for this authorization, especially if you're outside of the Schengen. Okay. Now, criminal record and security concerns. Applications must not have a significant criminal record and should not pose a security threat to the Schengen area. A background check is part of the application process. So evidently you're going to be, when you probably do this electronically online, you're giving them permission to run a background check on you for a criminal record. Okay. Most people would be cool with that. You got nothing to hide, you got nothing to worry about, right? So if you have been previously denied entry into any EU country, you may face additional scrutiny or may be ineligible. So remember that. If you had a reason in the past that they denied your entry and you're not a criminal, you still may have a problem getting in. And then the last thing is health concerns. It says certain health issues, particularly those that could pose a public health threat, may affect eligibility. So I got a little curious about that, and I was like, okay, let's get into what they're talking about with all of this, with especially the criminal and the health threat. So I'm going to pull up some more digging that I did in reference to that. If you give me a moment, ticky tock. Ticky, 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 ticky tock. Ticky tock. Ticky, 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 ticky tock. I'm so sorry, guys. I think it's this one. All right, let me pull this up. All right, here we go. Again, from the ETIAS.com, applying with a criminal record. So basically it says, short answer, if you have a criminal record, you can still apply. However, depending on the severity of the crime involved and the sentence, a criminal record may considerably reduce an applicant's chance of securing an ETIAS or even lead to refusal. Okay. So depending on what you did, all right, so what would be, of course, they're saying you go through the application process, you still may not be guaranteed to go in. Approval is not guaranteed. So this is interesting down here. Okay, it says here, like Germany, for example, reserves the right to refuse entry to or deport any visitor who has served a sentence of 3 years or more for public order offenses, a conviction for drug-related offenses with an accompanying sentence of 2 or more years, or you've been convicted for any crimes involving human trafficking. All right. Yeah. So generally speaking, visitors to Europe with the necessary ETIAS approval will not be questioned about minor offenses by border officials, but it can happen, and it is always best to answer such questions honestly, as any info supply can be quickly checked against their security database. So the criminal record database checks. So in order to thoroughly check out your app, it says here, they have the creation of the European Criminal Records Info System from 2019, stores all information of convicted crimes if you're in or out of the Schengen, basically is what it's saying. So they're going to run an online security check on your app. It's either going to say a hit or a no hit. A hit will detail all applicants' criminal history, in which of the country the offense took place. It stores not just details of your record, but also your scanned fingerprints and photo. It's going to check your criminal history, see if you have any possible terrorist connections or security risks. Okay, and then it goes on, like, you know, what exactly are the criminal offenses? What's the security check? Damage to a person or property, rape, murder, money laundering, drug trafficking, human trafficking, sex crimes against children. All right. I mean, that pretty much goes without saying, and I think that's a good thing. Like I said, most of us are not going to be in this category, I would hope. But if you are in this category, you're SOL, if you know what I mean. Okay. Now that, like I said, wasn't really the big thing that has me questioning. This is the next thing that has me really pondering what they're doing. And I'm not the only one. What is it? You're going to find out right now, as soon as I bring this bad puppy up. Let's do it. So remember, the next section was about your health, right? So let's go into the section about your health. So I asked them, because they said there's going to be health questions, okay? So I said, Google, what type of health questions? And it says here, this is what came back to me. The ETIAS application form does not ask for health information or vaccination status. I'm sure they're not talking about vaccination status against, I don't know, the flu? Wink, wink. It says here what they're looking for. Instead, the app is asking for other info, including identity information, identity document, occupation, which I don't know why they need to know where you work and what you do, but they're asking for that. They want to know your reason for traveling, your criminal and judicial history, and travel to conflict zones. Have you been to Iran or something like that, right? So that's what they say. AI says they don't ask for health info or vaccination status. So I was like, okay, but then I got conflicting information. This is where it gets sticky and weird. Watch this. This is where it gets sticky and weird. Because when I pulled this article up, and these are recent articles, okay? Like this one here is from this article from September 9 of 2024. So this is the most recent type of articles I have on ETIAS. And it says here, again, it lists all the countries that got to do it to sign up for this application. But if you go down here, there's two conflicting pieces of information. First, it says it's going to cost €7 or $7.75 to apply for this, and your application is good for 3 years. And then it also mentions, remember how AI said there's no health information going to be asked or anything about health-related vaccination questions? Well, it says right here, after you fill out your application online with the personal info on your passport and answer a series of security and health-related questions, your ETIAS application will be processed immediately, and you will receive an email confirming that your ETIAS has been approved within 96 hours. Okay, so that article is telling me there are health-related questions, but they don't specifically say if it's for vaccination status. All right, so there's another thing. Now watch this. That ain't all, baby. I got something else to show you too. Check out this next article. This article was within a week as well from AXA, and they said that the fee is actually going to be $9 American. You see that? Pay the app fee for $9. And then it says here, so it went up from $7.75 to $9, and now it says, in most cases, let's see, you will be approved, blah, 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 it takes 96 hours or 4 days. Let me see where it said about, what about the other part? Ah, here it is. You're given your personal details, your name, date of birth, national ID, passport info, also answering basic questions about your health, criminal history, previous travel experience. Okay, so first it's, no, we're not going to ask you any questions about your health or vaccination status. Then it's, we're going to ask you some questions. Now it's about basic health questions. So what is it, right? What is it? That part is the mystery that I don't think they have fully worked out, although it sounds like they are leaning towards that. So why is this a big deal, and should you even be worried about it? So I'm going to wrap this up by showing you what I found on X, because there's some people on there that feel that this has something more to do than safety for the people in the Schengen zone area. We're going to find out. Let me show you what I found. Let me show you what I found. All right, guys. Okay. So this is somebody posted what it says here deep inside the application itself about refusals, cancellations, and appeals. What are the reasons for a refusal to grant an ETIAS travel authorization? Good question, right? It says an application will be refused if the applicant used a travel doc that was reported lost, stolen, misappropriated, or invalid, seems logical, is considered to pose a security, illegal immigration, or high epidemic risk. Of course, fails to reply to requests for additional info and docs, blah, 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 or has previously been refused entry and stay, blah, blah, blah. So this is the part I want you to focus on. They said you could be refused if you pose a security, illegal immigration, or high epidemic risk. What do they mean by high epidemic risk? Well, if you look over here to the right, there's some positives and negatives here. Some people are reading into this as having something to do with the, I don't know, the C-19 thing that happened about 3 years ago. But this guy over here has a view that says this has nothing to do with the C or vaccines. A person with active tuberculosis will be denied entry in any country. The UK does exactly the same, but your dim-witted followers really are triggered by your disinformation. This is the only quote I saw that was actually saying that it has nothing to do with it. Okay, now read what some other people have said here. Let me scroll up. This person says, given the admission of the ineffectiveness of the C jab, this clearly has nothing to do with people's health and safety and looks more and more like a policy to control populations and limit their movements. Did you hear that? Looks more and more like a policy to control populations and limit their movements. And then we have one more comment. Again, I would ask, as I did when the CVAX came out, what about people who are highly allergic to components of it and can't have it? So maybe a person that actually wants to take it but is allergic to it, does that mean that they are going to pose an epidemic risk according to this little clause where they can just, that's the loophole where they can refuse you entry into Europe? Exactly. Exactly. Think about that. Think about that. You really have to think about that. So, what are your thoughts about all of this? It's coming whether you want it or not. They've got the entry exit that's coming actually as of November 9. That application process is actually around the corner, less than 2 months. Okay. Now Europe is coming out with the ETIAS system application. All of this is coming down the pipes, and I need to know what your thoughts are about all of this. I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are. Is it a way to control people? In other words, is it a way to control people that are everyday citizens like you and me? We pay our bills, we go to work, we follow the rules, and all we want to do on our vacation is have a little fun. But yet we're going to have to jump through all these little hoops and have our biometrics tracked, our fingerprints, our face. They want to know our occupation. They want to know why you're traveling. They want to know where you're going, when you're coming back. They want to know, have you been to a high-risk zone? They want to know all of this of me and you that are just everyday citizens just trying to live our life and have a freaking vacation every now and then. And maybe Europe's been on a bucket list of mine and yours forever. I am currently in Europe, and I'm ahead of the system right now. But it's got me really thinking, do I really want all of my personal information, my biometrics, stored in their system for up to 3 years? I mean, I get it. It's on apps. There's no avoiding it. Your fingerprint to unlock a phone, all of this stuff is already happening, people. Okay? It's already happening. This is just one more step. So, in my opinion, I think it is a little bit much, even though they pose it as they're saying, this is a way to secure our borders and protect our people. And another thing that was in ETIAS if you really get down to the small print, and I encourage you to go online and actually see what is going on behind the scenes with this. If you read the small print, it actually says that, they were talking about the epidemic, the C thing, and they said, if another one happens, if another one that may possibly happen in the future, then we will be prepared to know who is infected and where they got infected from to protect our citizens. I would like to believe that that is actually true, and that is their intention. But with everything that's been happening in this world, I have my doubts. What do you think? Drop me a comment. Share your thoughts. I'll see you in the next live stream. Peace out. Alex, wait. Alex. I'm sorry, Alex. I will just travel in Serbia, he says, and the Balkans, non-EU countries, until I figure this out. I thought you already covered this topic. No, Alex, I didn't. This is totally separate. This is totally separate. But again, all good things got to come to an end. I love you. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comment below the video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.